Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's cracking? What's happening? What it do? What's good? What up, though? It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It is Tuesday. It's January 6th, I believe. Yeah, it's the 6th, and it's exactly 2:50 a.m. First, I don't recall if I said Happy New Year to you guys yesterday. Yeah, my first recording. Was it my first recording? No, I recorded on the 2nd. I'm sorry. But don't know if I said Happy New Year's to you guys. For those of you who are on like a school schedule. So, Happy New Year's. And as far as what I do and why I do it, when I initially started recording, it was my take on some theological stuff. It wasn't seminary type stuff. It was more my take, my personal opinion on some things that have been written or said or adhered to. And you will occasionally hear me talk about said subject. But now my take has grown more socio-political and more specific in discussing issues that people seem to avoid, and that's race. And I've been called a racist because people don't want to talk about the elephant in the room. So it's easier to call names and distract from the conversation that needs to be had. And folks, if you don't do anything else, I need you to hear this. About being called a racist. Call me what you will. I've been called a lot of things, and I've been called a lot worse. So that does not bother me. But what you need to know while you're hurling that word, while you're being a keyboard gangster, you have never once asked questions about, why I am saying what I'm saying or why I'm expounding on things that I've read. Okay? And have never once asked about my background, my history, my family. My family is multiracial. And when I say multiracial, I mean multiracial. Now, I've shared my genetic makeup. My descendants are indigenous folks, Welsh Irish, and the African part is Nigerian. And this is from DNA testing. So there is my genetic makeup. My family is comprised of the Latin culture, more specific, Guatemala. Okay. I have another faction of Afro-Hispanic, Puerto Rico. I have another faction of Pacific Islander, Filipino. And I have Caucasian, and these are all first line, first generation folks in the family, like first cousins, All right, so the Caucasian, I believe, is German and Italian. I believe that's what they told me about their side of the family. So I have this lovely, warm, wonderful melting pot of folks that I confer with, that I love, that I embrace, you know, that are part of my wonderful family. Yeah. In the, spans of family that I'm, discovering more and more thanks to Facebook. Thought I had a small family, folks. My family is huge. And I've discovered this thanks to Facebook. But I know there are some Haitian folks in the family. I know there are more Afro-Indigenous folks in the family. More biracial, and by biracial I mean black and white, blended family. My family is huge, bottom line. And, we love folks who love us. And I need to be clear about that. I'm just calling out conversation that needs to be had because we seem to adhere to the romanticized version of history and ignore, the African American experience. We tend to adhere to the romantic notion of American history and ignore the indigenous experience. And the island folks that I have in my family are just beginning to awaken to the African experience or the African part of their culture, and I'm going to talk about it. And, I hold people's toes to the flame, just in everyday conversation, that people will say something without realizing the historical context of what they're saying. And you know where that phrase came from? And boom, we have a lesson right then and there. So, all that being said, that's what I do more so now. And that's why I do it, because we need to stop minimizing the Black experience and the Black contributions to what we call American history.